can control it from here. I have to get from the Thank you, Mr. MC. All the misses. All right, Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Salam Sejahtera. First of all, I'd like to thank AAD Kayed for inviting me to join this I'll call it DAX 3.0 Symposium, especially Dr. Sham for inviting me to give the talk. Anyway, what I'm going to talk today is about my sharing of experience with all of you. But I won't be doing anything relating to COVID-19 because it's done before all this pandemic came about. But anyway, I'm trying to relate to the ideas of arts and craftsmanship and about design and culture thing. So the title for my talk today is called The Narrative of Cultural and Architectural Values. I would like to consider myself as a very romantic person where I like to attach things according to the spaces that you design for the people, and then how do you relate to the story being told about through generations, and from that we create a space, because most of my research is relating to the spiritual or space or sense of place or anything that's related to the emotions and to the romantic ideas of these people using the spaces. Next, please. Right, I will be talking about these 5 categories. First of all, the background, the narratives and scenarios of cultures, arts, and creativity, and romantic nuances, protagonists, and haptic design. And finally, the final remarks, I'm going to conclude that all relating to what I'm supposed to talk about. Next, please. Right, narratives, because it's quite a, we'll call it a high-ended kind of a thing, because in Malaysia, narratives in terms of doing research is still something very new, especially when you're relating to design. But I like to take the idea because we are people who are inherited all the cultural heritage. From that the stories come about through generation. So basically the narratives are governed by cultural factors, tangible and intangible aspects, and also cultural heritage is very, very visual. So that's where the arts and crafts is coming in, and also the cultural interpretation. Right, okay, this is the idea that I like to bring in because, again, the romantic nuances, not many people, because I'll try to run away from the technicalities of doing research and something that's more of like a human level kind of experience where you feel your emotion attached to the spaces, that kind of thing, or to the cultural interpretation. So basically what we're looking for is the tangible cultural values, which came about because of the intangible cultural values, the narratives, protagonists, and scenarios. Please, this one, please. Right, the reason why narrative is very important because every narrative has a hero. Okay, every hero has a villain, but I'll only go focus on the protagonist of all these design aspects because I think that what really controls the story of all the spaces. Yeah, because of that, so there are cultural beliefs and customs, leading character, one of the major characters, main figure or prominent figures, and because of this, main figures, they control all the spaces design or space analysis and cultural interpretation of all the spaces. Right, another one that I try to bring in, try to relate to each other is called haptic design, which I did for my PhD many years ago. So when I did my interpretation of the songket motifs into the sense of place, because of that, you have to look into the what the senses can touch you, in which way, in terms of smell, taste, feel, or touch, because the haptic design encompasses all those cultural interpretation. Right, according to Johannes Palasma, touch is a sensory mode that integrates our experience on the world with that of ourselves. So I think those designers who go into space and don't feel and touch anything, I think you're not well trained yet. You have to go and feel anything, you know, the carving, the feel, the smell, whatever that comes about in the spaces is part of your cultural experience, part of your space experience, yeah? So visual perceptions are fused and integrated into the haptic continuum of the users. Again, because for those able bodies or the non-blind people, they rely heavily on visual connections, which is, again, we forgot about our other senses. And because of that, we fail to see the real story behind what we go through. Please. Right. There are 4 scenarios. Some of this talk I already did in Dubai just recently in January. I was representing Malaysia for the World Expo 2020. I talked in terms of Malaysian context, of course, but these are the same thing I tried to repeat, but in a different way of looking at it. There are 4 case studies I will look into today. One is MASJID AR-RAHMAN in Kelantan. The second one is Istana Kenangan in Kuala Kangsar, Perak. And the Melanau Longhouse is in Mukah in Sarawak, and the RUNGUS Longhouse in Kudat, Sabah. Right, these are all the locations. There are 1 mosque, which is religious, 1 Istana with a palace for the royalties, and 1 longhouse, again in Sabah, which again, at the moment, there's only about 1 house left. When I did my research, it was 4. Then they demolished 3. There's only 1 left, which has been turned into bed and breakfast kind of setting. And in Mukah Longhouse, the Melanau Longhouse in Mukah, there are a few, but most of them are falling apart already. Some of the houses are over 200 years old. But again, that's an interesting story about the story behind all this architecture. Please. Okay, MASJID AR-RAHMAN. This is not a very old building. It's only about 6 years old. The reason why I chose this as my scenario is because of something spiritual. Yeah, the philanthropist who donated 6 million ringgit to build this mosque, because he wanted something that's not reflecting of the Middle East architecture, because far too many mosques in Malaysia are built with big domes, minarets, that kind of thing. So he wanted to go back into tropical setting, where we look into very tropical architecture of multi-levels, roofs for ventilation, and also the surrounding that really depicts the romantic ideas about something spiritual. Yeah, it's built on an island surrounded by greens and body waters. I managed to go there during the lockdown a few times in between, but of course, very, very strict rules about going there. It was done, this research was done before the pandemic started, and then in between, and then I had to stop again, and it just came back again from there in February, just recently, to look around again and to look into the ideas of this space analysis. So please. Right. The reason why this philanthropist built this mosque, because he wanted to provide something for the community, because the mosque that is building there is quite small and then not enough to provide for all the worshippers. So because of that, he donated this island called Pulau Gajah, and near Pangkalan Datu River, very close to the airport, Kota Baru Airport. So he built everything that's been more personal, and of course he gave all the money to the builder. But ironically, the architecture is a combination of Kelantanese architecture and Javanese architecture, where the carvers were imported from Jepara, Indonesia. But some of the architecture features are Kelantanese architectural features. Right. This is one of the most unique features in this mosque, because usually there are only 4 tiang suri, yeah, for a traditional architecture, Malay house, but this one has 5 pillars, because to reflect the five pillars of Islam. So because of that one, is one of the most unique mosques in Malaysia. Right. The other thing that I like, I was studying this carving of the Kelantanese architecture heritage, because when I did my PhD before, I did study about Sufism. So everything is all related to the human environment and God, divine power. So the same thing about this mosque, because everything that's been depicted into this architecture tells a story about this Sufism. Yeah, because it's a very open mosque where usually the mosques that we know about Malaysia are all closed to visitors. You know, every time when the Salah time is up, they close the mosque, but this one is open all the time. So it allows natural ventilation, it allows visitors, which is not feeling intimidated and experience space. Right, the mimbar or the two green columns at the back are imported from Saudi Arabia. Those are the date tree trunks where he brought in from Saudi Arabia and kept it into his collection, and then they put it back into this mosque. But as you notice that most of these features in there, especially the ceiling are woven kalarite, or whatever we call it in English, yeah, as a woven bamboo. Because of that, it looks very natural and tropical-like. But most of, again, the important thing about these architectural features are he has a huge collection of Chengao timber, Chengao wood for the columns, huge, really, really big, which costs about 30,000 ringgit each, easily. So again, he gave a lot of donation to this mosque to be really working for the people. The one thing that I like is this woven bamboo ceilings called Klarite. It expresses a vernacularity because of this. Again, all this what do you call it, sourced out from area nearby. Yeah, especially the bamboo. This one. This is one that I like very much as well. It's called Janda Berhias. I tried to find the meaning why behind that, and a lot of interpretation. I hope those Kelantanis, please forgive me for interpreting. But one of my interpretation when I talked to a lot of people, they said that when in Kelantan, most of the men die young. Okay, because of that, the widows have to dress up nicely, you know, to attract men, that kind of thing. So, but back then, the gender perhias was arranged irregularly, not like this. It's very, very regular. But again, there are other interpretations. When I talk to a lot of the old people, they say because the Kelantanese society is very almost matriarch, where everything's controlled by women. So everything got to do women has to be beautiful, has to be with a lot of gold and a lot of decoration. So because of that, it's called Jandi Perhias. Again, if you look around, if you happen to be there in Kelantan, you can go around and look into how you feel the spirituality, because every time the breeze comes in, it allows you to feel that you're really at peace. And so because of that, it has a twofold space construction, spirituality and physicality, epistemological and aesthetical. So again, all these things, again, if you look into design, they are really needed for you to make the architecture works for you. Oops. Right, these are part of the details of the carving. I'm trying to make it really short rather than going to many other scenarios. There are a lot of gazebos, replicas of the Batu Besurat from Terengganu around that area. But one thing that I like about this area, because it allows you to feel tranquil, yeah, really, really peaceful. Although it's even during prayer time, you still feel peaceful because that setting allows you to be at peace, something very spiritual that usually hardly see in any big mosque around Malaysia, because you feel intimidated because of the gigantic domes and minarets. But this is very down to earth, very almost welcoming all the time. Right. Again, the typical Malay architecture approach of directing people to the structure. But in terms of sustainability, I don't want to talk about that because that's not really my area, but they do have solar panels here, yeah, where they really use that for really getting all the energy for the electricity. So again, in that sense, it allows natural ventilation, natural energy coming in for the architecture. Please. Right, this is how it looks like in terms of where it's located. It's on a Pulau Gajah, I call it Pulau Gajah simple, but it's near to the river of Pekalan Datu in Kota Baru. And the ions from the river really cools down the area for natural ventilation and natural breeze. Next one, please. Right, in terms of what I want to talk about just now are the narratives in terms of spirit of the place, romantic nuances of the culture and environment about the Kelantanese architectural components. Protagonist is based on the religion, because the religion is the most important thing in this architecture, where everything's bring down to earth. For example, like so in terms of Sufism, is very, very humble and very simple as well. Yeah. And in terms of haptic design, it's materiality, where you look into the materials of the construction of the timber of the columns, and also the ceiling is made of woven bamboo. Thank you. Right, my second scenario is the Istana Kenangan in Kuala Kangsar Perak. I'm sure some of you have seen my talk about this one, but anyway, I'm going to repeat this again. These names that Istana Kenangan has came from Istana Kenangan, Istana Kelarai, keeps changing depending on the functions of the palace. Very small, very humble, but very, very iconic. For those who've been to Kuala Kangsar, you know where it's located. But now it's just finished being refurbished. Maybe they're going to open up soon to the visitors to enjoy the architecture. But also it's called Istana Kuning, Istana Tepas, Istana Ladang, Istana Mayat, and lastly changed to Museum di Raja Perak in 1986. The narrative of Istana Kenangan is built entirely of wood without use of nails, shaped like a sword to show the royalty of the Perak royalty. The scabbard or the sarung padang is where the Balai Rungsuri is located. Has a beautiful throne, walls, diamond-shaped plates. I'm going to talk to you about this Kelarai later on. Yeah? And roof structure, the 5 ridges Prabung Lima, and the ridge of the pie bananas of Prabung Pisang Sekat, which is the unique character of Perak architecture. This is how it looks like, the elevation. It's not too big, it's just simple, but I'm going to go into why it looks so simple like that. Yeah. Right. This is the roof formation for the Perak architecture. Again, it's you can't see this kind of roof in any other states in Malaysia because only unique to Perak. Right, this is the floor plan. The ground floor plan is very open, a lot of columns, pillars there. And if you can see, there are 2 sets of steps there. On the left-hand side is where the main staircase to the above floor. But I'm going to show you where this staircase is. And the back one is for the maids to go up to the kitchen area. The first floor where the rooms are located, and it's quite open and it's quite big, quite airy because of the material being used for the walls. Next one, please. They just finished this refurbishment. This is how it looks like the last drawing. So, please. The rear and left all the same, but they refurbished sourcing out all the experts, the artisans to do the wall from different states of Malaysia, try to get things, standardized. Right, this is the main door. Okay, main door should be usually open sideways, yeah, but this one open upwards. That's the main door. The reason why, because they tried to protect the owners of the palace back then when they're being attacked. So if anything being attacked like that, the door closed and they put a lot of heavy things on the door, so to prevent the enemies from coming into the house. Right. Another thing, if you look at the wall, the Kelarai, the woven bamboo, there are a lot of holes as well. Yeah. So that one really like protection for the owner, because if they maybe attacked with swords or arrows, it will bounce back because of the bamboo is very elastic. Yeah. Next one. Right. The shadow and the vista again. This palace is in the valley. Actually, back then it was surrounded by a lot of gardens, yeah, a lot of fruit trees, a lot of open space, and it's surrounded by mountains as well. So the view is very romantic, I would say. When you get up in the morning, you open the windows, the sunlight comes in, you see mountains, you see trees. That's beautiful. Next one. And the protagonist, not too many people knew about her, but she was Raja Perempuan Kalsom. She passed away in 1972. She's the one who stayed that from the beginning until the end. She never moved to a different palace in Kuala Kangsar. She's one of the fighters against the British in the 1930s. I think part of the beginning of the Malay Union, something like that. Yeah. Okay. So this is called Raja Perempuan Kalsom. She's a woman of all trades, I would say. Yeah. Next one, please. Right. Raja Perempuan Kalsom is very versatile. She can do a lot of things. Very sociable. She loves the people. Very artistic. good cook, embroider, gardener, and also dressmaker. These are the things that I went through the archive, trying to understand this person. But the reason why I got into this research because one of the relatives was a friend of my friend, so we got to know each other. So that's how this got my interest in doing so. Right. She loved the surroundings. She loved nature. She loved to have gardens. She have like a flower gardens next to it. Every morning she would plant flowers, whatever. And then she loved the people. Then she's very, very creative. And also because of that, she created the palace like a place for everyone, not just for her. Yeah. Right. In terms of materiality and details, the past is called the woven bamboo, but the clarai is the pattern of the woven bamboos. So that's again, if you look into that, you understand. Oh, the battery is running low. Right. Okay, most of them, when they do this documentation, they say that the clarai motif diamond shape and dinding tapas is based on the diamond shape. But for me, I have a different interpretation again, because when I did research back then in Kelantan and Terengganu, this diamond shape actually is a shape of potong ladu. That's the word. Potong ladu is made of brown sugar and also black pepper, mainly for the women who gave after giving birth. They eat this kind of food to heal the wounds quickly, apart from ikan haruan. But this is part of the traditional understanding how this motif came about, because if the protagonist is a woman, everything is about a woman. Yeah. Next one, please. And I love this because I went in the morning hours and also late in the evening to see the difference in terms of light setting on this wall, because you can see the color of the walls are the yellow, black, and white. So this again, the color of the Perak flag. Next one, please. Right, in terms of materiality and details, there are actually four types of timber. Bitis, cengar, seperti merbau. Okay, there are different range of characters of this timber. Bitis means being very soft, and cengar is the hardest. So again, all these things are according to what the functions of this timber are needed for the palace. Please. Right, the open space is where she cooked for the people around the palace where the villages are. They always, back then in the 60s or 50s, before she passed away, she used to have a lot of this wayang free, the panggung wayang, whatever, the screen, big screen and I invited a lot of people to watch the movies in the backyard, in this open space. That's how she related to the people around that area. Yeah, because of, again, you know that back then with Jabatan Penerangan Malaysia with the yellow and green truck, right, came out about and then start setting up the frame. Then people sat around looking at this like Hindustani movie, whatever. Yeah, so that I think that people related to her being the protagonist of the palace. Right. In terms of colors or meaning, I did some investigation as well. The black actually is to reflect the industry where it's controlled by the British, also the royalty of Perak. There's a coal mine in Karai in late 1800s, which is about maybe 10 or 5 kilometers away from Kuala Kangsar. And most of this area being planted with kuning, with the Areca nut, pokok pinang. So the kuning pinang raja, which is red yellow, and the white is putih, of course, purity, and that those are the state colors of Perak. Again, everything's all related to the development of this history. So please. Right, in terms of the breakdown just now, the Istana Kenangan has a lot of story, history behind it. Part of it, they call it Istana Mayat, where during Japanese occupation, where people were killed, they don't have any place to put the body. They put that Istana used as a where people keep keeping all the dead bodies for a while before moving into a different place. Yeah, then in terms of romantic nuances of the oral history, which is again, if you look at the history of the Perak, it's quite a long, different from other states in Malaysia in terms of the Perak architecture. And in terms of protagonists, of course, Raja Perempuan Kalsum was the only person who stayed there from the beginning until she died. Yeah, she never moved to other palaces in Kuala Kangsar. And the haptic design again of materiality, the bamboo, the timber, again, the sense of place given provided by the fruit palms and also flower gardens that really really brings out the space to be appreciated very much. Next one, I'd like to talk about this one again is a Melanau tall longhouse in Muka, where you have to go to fly into Kuching into Muka take a boat, whatever, you know, or four-wheel drive to go into these places. But anyway, these houses are the one I'm showing you now is 200 years old, but it's almost falling down to the earth already because of the not maintained. And most of the young people moved away from Muka into Kuching, because if you've been to Muka, there's nothing much there. It's very basically quite sleepy town, I would say. But the main thing about this village is the Sungai Telian near Kampung Telia. Next one, please. Right, not too many people know about the, what they call it, the cultural background of these Melanau people. But it's almost like the Minangkabau as well. They have this 9 piko, 7 piko, 5 piko, depend. They're still practicing some of them. When you get married, if you're from 9 piko, you have to bring $9, that kind of thing. So if you're okay, if you have a 7 piko, then whatever, you know, depending on the level of your hierarchy. Next one, please. Right, these are places that we went to before, but at the end, we decided to work only on the Sarawak Cultural Village because it shows the authenticity of the Muka Melanau tall longhouse, please. It looks a bit tall, but the most unique thing about this Melanau tall longhouse is the most of the time the columns about 40 feet, 20 to 40 feet tall from the ground. I'm going to tell you why that thing happens. Okay, next one, please. All right, the floor plan, we got these multiple level bedrooms called Ngayan Tudui. The sleeping arrangements are mainly affected by the gender and marital status, separation between a married man and, because it's like apartments with units, yeah, but different levels. If you are married, you're higher. If you are married, you're down, or the single person going down again. You know, those are kind of arrangement for the architecture. Okay, this again because they believe that every household would lose their fortune if the house were constructed with just a single level. So again, the rules are there, but the story behind 40 feet high from the level because they were warring tribes. These Melanau people are very gentle people, but they were always being attacked by Iban or Dayak people for their heads. So they have this 40 feet from the level because to protect them from being attacked by the enemies. They can see them, and from there they can protect themselves from being attacked by this Dayak Iban. That's how tall it looks like in terms of elevation. Next one, please. Okay, natural materials, hardy, water resistant, especially the billion tree trunks, nibong tree trunks, and sago tree trunks are very important to these people because sago is one of the important staple food for these people. They turn it into linut. I think that very jellified kind of food, and also a lot of things are being sourced out from the sago into the sago poles. Right, this is one of the walls that is very important for the house. This again is made of bamboo, and they can see through the holes if they are being attacked by the enemies. Yeah, so that's something. Okay, this is a story again. This is the main staircase again to the house. It's very, very steep, but they said if you don't, no pain, no gain, you don't get anything. But again, to protect them from being attacked by the enemies. Yeah, but again, they believe that even numbers are believed to bring troubles to the occupants, great difficulties in life, and often falling sick and other tragedies. Right, the main thing about this culture, the shaman is the one that controls everything. Yeah, in terms of the curing diseases called ritual called Babayo, and the reflection of spirit called Ipo, and Jerunai. I want to talk to you about the Jerunai. Next one, please. These are the ritual during, especially in April, where they have this Kaul festival. Next one, please. And again, this ritual, the reason why it's very important because this ritual being performed inside the house rather than outside. So they bring everything back for the rituals to perform for we call it curing the disease. Okay, this is the most important thing about this Melanau people, they are Cerunai. It's like a totem pole. When we went there were only 3 left. There should be 4 poles. Yeah, only 3 left with carving, but it's only meant for the rich people. When they die, they put the bodies in this pot. You see the pot in the left-hand side. So the body to rot. At the time you're rich, you have slaves, usually women. The slave will be put up alive on top of the totem pole to die, to what you call it, to accompany the dead body. So, but this one will be erected along the river. When you're erected along the river, people will pass by on boats. They will throw them water or food, to the slaves, but they will never be released from the totem pole until they die with the owner of the house. Yeah, next one. Right. Again, Sago is part of it. The reason why it's important because all these houses were built along Sungai Telian. We can see a lot of boats tugging a lot of these sago trunks for them to be produced. A cow festival every time in May, in April, maybe coming up soon. The ipo are placed in trays made of palm leaves. Again, all this very natural material. Outcomes called sarahang, all these things. Again, Melanau is about 99% Christian, no, 95% Christian, 3% Islam, and 2% pagan. They call it pagan, although they are animistic. Yeah, next one. That's how it looks like, almost like if you've been to Bali, it's almost like the ogo-ogo. Yeah, but the same thing happens in Ipoh. Right, the narratives about the Melanau Longhouses, oral history, the shaman is the protagonist, the control, everything about the architecture, and then the haptic design is about materiality in terms of the quality of the material. Okay, the last one, this one I talk about RUNGUS Longhouse. It's again in Kudat, Sabah. We have to go about 4 hours from Kota Kinabalu to Simpang Mengayau, and then maybe 2 hours, 3 hours by 4-wheel drive up the mountains, and a very, very rough road to get to this place. This is called Maranjak Longhouse, RUNGUS Long, the only one left at the moment, because when we went there, there were 4, but then when we went there about the 4th time, there's only 1 left. Next one, please. One thing about this architecture, because you really respect nature, where it builds on the slopes, not damaging the slopes, built according to the terrain, and then the longest longhouse was about 100 meters long. So again, that's how long. Those are maybe from 50 meters to 100 meters long. They can house a few units in there. So, this is the one before being demolished. They use the ground level for rearing animals like pigs and ducks and chicken. So please. This one near the slopes again is demolished already. Next one, please. Right. Constructed mainly of traditional materials like split timbers, lush rattan, farm fronds for the roof, split roof for the floor, and tree bark of hewn wood, compartments, walls, and timber structure. It's part of the floor plan because it's 100 meters long, so only part of it. Again, units like apartments being built into it. Yeah. So, the rooms are called ongkop. There are unit 1, unit 2, ongkop 1, ongkop 2, ongkop 3. And apat langsang is the family generally where they meet or eat. Apat tingkang is where the male are sleeping. The males are not allowed to sleep in the ongkop. Again, it's being governed by the protagonist, which is the Bobohizan. Then the materials into architecture, slanted side walls, tree bark walls, bamboo floor, thatch roof. Those are again all materials are being resourced out from the environment. So, right, I want to talk to you about this Menara, the tower. Okay, most of people think that is the watchtower, but it's not. It's meant for girls who reach puberty or reach the age of 16 years old. They're being put up there to look for their husbands. So they have the right to choose their husband, not the other way around. So it's almost like a man would parade along this. This story was told to me by the Bahauddin. So the parade, okay, I want that man because that's how they choose. But unfortunately for the man, they can't see the women, the girls. So it's a one way, yeah. But anyway, the story. Next one, please. That's how it's called Rorizan, yeah, the power. Next one, please. Okay, the other one that's very important to all this ritual is called Bahauddin, which is the priestess, always woman. They always control whatever goes on into this longhouse, whatever the rituals that's needed to be done. It's all under them, under this woman. So please. They are the ceremonial consultant, practitioner of ancient healing traditions, the bridge between the past and the current. All those things are, again, the criteria. For you to become a Bahauddin, you must fulfill all these things that's needed. This is how it looks like. The rituals that they love to do is always sacrificing piglets because of the blood to ensure that the land is fertile, for planting plants. Right, in terms of RUNGUS Longhouse, the narratives is in the RUNGUS in terms of material, oral history. Protagonist will be the Bahauddin, and material will be the thing that about haptic design that's really need to be considered. Right, in terms of romantic nuances, we look into the slight and subtle hints about the story behind it, why it's being done like that, differences, connotation, ideas and feelings, specific word and subtext. Again, all these things giving you ideas about interpretation. So, right, in terms of architecture, I think most of this architecture that I presented just now is all being surrounded by plants. Again, it is being tropical architecture. Again, privacy and release fragrant flowers. Sustainable materials. I'll really love to talk about the floral motifs, but that's another topic again. Very, very detailed because our interpretation based on the Malay cultural interpretation and also Sufism, it has a different meaning. So, nature and environment become the reference point, more aesthetically pleasing because again, like you said, Dr. just now, all related to nature. We are imitating the nature. So the same thing about architecture. So what they do is they imitate nature, but from them, interpretation is that because they believe nature has very strong character, they replicate it into the architecture. For example, the motif of flowers for the air vent, they believe that if any breeze comes through the flower motifs, it brings along the smell of the flower, and as well to rejuvenate or to revitalize the owners of the house. So that's how the story goes. So, but we talk about the tangible, intangible culture because without the tangible, intangible cultural values, the tangible won't exist. Because of that, we talk about materiality, how they relate to all the stories, the romantic ideas, the narratives, protagonists comes about because, of course, in every culture, the identity is always governed by a leader, be it a woman or a man. But in terms of RUNGUS people, not many people knew about the power of Bahauddin, the priestess. So I think for that, I thank you very much.